Hello and welcome to Deep Blue Sea, the podcast. I'm your host, Jake Lowe. On this show, we have covered the entire Deep Blue Sea trilogy scene by scene, and now looking at some Deep Blue Sea adjacent films. That's films directed by Rennie Harlin, featuring aquatic action or sharks. And today we have that rarest of films, sharks but minimal aquatic action. Not none, but minimal. More sharks than aquatic, because today we're talking about House Shark. What is House Shark? Good question. It's a 2017 film directed by and written by Ron Bonk, and starring a bunch of people I don't know. I'm guessing the friends of Ron Bonk. I will get into that. It's mainly follows Frank, who is a former cop who his house has a shark in it of some kind, and he teams up with we have this kind of policeman character teams up with a scientist and a shark hunter to take out a shark. It may seem familiar to a film we've covered on here before, but this is a different film. This is House Shark. So the question isn't what is House Shark. The question is why are we talking about House Shark? Well, I was a guest earlier this year on another podcast. That podcast was That's the Bomb Yo, talking about Volcano. On that show, I asked that show's host if he wanted to come on this show, talk about a shark film. He's like, yes, House Shark. And so that's why today we're talking about House Shark with Jason Soto from Rabbit Hole Podcast. Jason Soto, welcome to Deep Blue Sea Podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be on this show.
We're thrilled to have you. I immediately drop you onto the bus of like, yeah, you picked this film.
Yeah. Well, technically, I guess I did. But it was in a roundabout way of like, hey, you do a podcast about shark movies. I have next to me, because this was during there's a 12-hour film festival I do on Twitch every 6 months called Dark Hole Film Fest, where I pick movies that I haven't seen that are of lower quality, so to speak. And House Shark was one of the options that would have been picked. It didn't get picked during that night. But I was looking at it and I said, "Hey, have you ever seen a movie called House Shark?" And you were like, "No, because I am a wise gentleman and I would never watch that."
Neither
and
seen
then
nor
somehow we got into this, do it on my shark podcast, and I was like, "Okay."
Yeah, so this was an entirely new film to me that I sat down to watch with my wife, who does not enjoy most of the films we cover on this show that are good.
Oh no!
So this was a fun time, but I was okay picking it because we've had a guest on before, Kevin Kolb, who's been on a few times. His lockdown mission was to watch every shark film he could find. He has a Reddit list that has so far 143 shark films, all ranked, and House Shark is number 21 on that list. So
holy
shit!
Wow!
Okay, so his list, like, Jaws is number 1, Deep Blue Sea, and then he has Santa Jaws at number 3, a Christmas classic, which we love on this podcast. Have you seen Santa Jaws, Jason?
No, I have not.
You must watch Santa Jaws. It's fantastic.
I'm looking this up.
Your Between the Scares co-host Lisa, she introduced me to Santa Jaws, and it's a delight. It's a guy gets a magic pen that whenever he draws comes to life, and he draws a shark that's Christmas themed that can only be harmed with Christmas themed weapons. It's a delightful and one of my favorite episodes that we've covered on this show. So that's Kevin's third best. So this list is very much entertaining rather than quality. You know, the Meg's up there, Sharknado 3D's up there, Ghost Shark is in the top 10, Empire of the Sharks top 10, which we covered with Kevin Cole. So yeah, 21 for House Shark. I was like, okay, this is going to be fun.
Oh man,
didn't realize it was a little while going in before I realized this isn't like there's different categories of shark film. There's like the great shark films, the Deep Blue Sea, the Jaws, etc. Like the sincere, we're making a great film. Then there's we're trying to make a film that's good, but we haven't got a lot of money. Then there's we're trying to have fun making a film. That's the ghost sharks of the world. They're trying to have fun, where the shark that can take root in any body of water, including a tub of water or a paddling pool. that kind of thing. And then there's this thing, which is like we're trying to have fun. We have no money, and it's also just not a fun experience to watch. I didn't like House Shark at all. I'm not going to say it's the
Wow,
worst
showing
one
your
we've
hand
covered.
early.
I'm not saying
Okay.
it's the worst one we've covered on the show, but it's definitely in contention.
Okay.
So this was a first watch for you. What did you think of House Shark?
Oh man. Okay. So I've not seen the movie when you asked me to do this, so it was gonna be an experience for sure. I figured. The whole reason I even bought the DVD, and yes, to the people out there listening to this, I bought this DVD at a used DVD store. It was like $3, and the title caught my eye because I'm like, what the is a house shark? So of course I had to buy it to find out for myself what a house shark was. Um, so going into it, I was expecting like um maybe a little bit below the Asylum level of production. I mean, just a touch below, like not quite there. Because the Asylum, say what you want about them, they know how to make movies.
Yeah,
They have they have the actual equipment. They kind of have a budget. They can afford CGI, obviously.
we've covered
Um,
Sharktopus, I think, is the Asylum film we've
yeah.
covered on here.
So, so what I'm talking about. So I was expecting that. What I got, and in a weird way, I'm gonna disagree a little bit with you, Jay. I actually
Fine.
enjoyed it for the charm that this movie had because it was literally three guys who just had an idea. They wrote a script, and then they had a house, and then
And
somebody was like,
a shark costume.
they had a bunch of foam that they could turn into a shark. Um, and then was like, what can we do with these things? And then while Jaws was playing in the background, so they're like, let's rip off Jaws, but have it set in a house, and we're gonna have people speak in accents for some reason.
And every character is going to be named after a U.S. president.
And every character is going to be named, even the women, the
Even
Ladybird. Her name
Ladybird.
was
Yes.
Ladybird. That was when
Okay.
I caught on to that, because I was like, why is she named Ladybird? And I was
Yeah.
thinking of the movie of the same name that came out in like 2017, 2018. And I'm like, is that like a weird reference to that? But then I caught the whole Franklin Delano Roosevelt
Yep.
and
And
Zachary Taylor. And then I'm like,
Reagan and real
oh,
estates.
they're trying to do fucking president. Like everybody in this movie had presidential names. That was an interesting choice. So yeah.
The guy called
No.
Abraham with the massive fake beard. Yeah. Who talks,
Yes.
who
Yeah.
is the Quint character, but he talks more like Shatner, but with some
Yeah.
Sean Connery going on. It's a choice. There's a bunch of
It
choices he's
was.
making.
It was. There was some interesting choices in this movie for sure.
Yeah.
But
Like,
no, here's
the
the
Star
thing.
Wars bits.
Yeah. But here's the thing. I kind of found it oddly charming. I have to give it to them because even if you're making a $30 movie, it's still not easy to do. And then to see it through to the end, that takes some guts. So I'm going to give it to these guys. Yeah, the output's not the greatest, but I enjoyed myself.
I can
Um,
I can appreciate that. Well, like we talk about a lot of Ronnie Harden films on this show, and we're always amazed. We recently did Legend of Hercules. We were amazed like that he made that film that a lot of people don't like. We enjoyed it. That was made in 2 months, like
mm,
with minimal prep time, and
mm,
like to make a film of that kind of scale with such limitations is impressive. So I couldn't find
yeah.
the budget for House Shark, but I imagine it's 20p in a packet of
Oh,
crisps kind of thing.
it
It's
cannot be. I'm sure one of them lived in the house. I'm sure that
well,
was one of
yeah.
those guys' house.
This is a paranormal
Um,
activity kind of thing, whereas like the director lives here as well. Like it's
yeah.
absolutely, it must be the case. And like
Um,
it feels like they kind of got together every weekend for a couple of months and just kind of made this film. And I'm sure they had a wonderful time doing it, and I'm glad they did.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
from that perspective, well done everyone. I think
Yeah, no, indeed.
if I'd gone in knowing this was a parody essentially from the off, I might have liked it better. But just kind
Mm.
of coming to that conclusion, and I don't know, it may have lessened the experience for me. I don't know. But also, I feel like whenever I watch these kind of films with my wife, it always her negativity of it just kind of deter from my experience as well. When we get to the end of a film, and she's like, "That was the worst thing I've ever seen." I was like, "Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, it probably is." Because you don't watch these kinds of films. You didn't see
Yeah,
Ghost Shark. You didn't see Shark in Venice. You missed some of these classics from the podcast. You didn't watch
yeah,
Ice Sharks.
your wife doesn't know me very well, apparently, because I
I
have
know.
that effect on people. Um, but yeah, that's what I was expecting going into it, and then that's what we got, and I still oddly liked it. Um, if I could give one criticism,
Sure.
one, no, seriously, one criticism is I think it went a little too long. I think they had a
Yes.
little too much fun.
Yeah.
They could have cut a little bit in the middle out, and it would have been fine.
It's 112 minutes long, which feels 20 minutes longer than this kind of film should
Yes,
ever be.
I would have been okay with 80 minutes.
Yeah, that kind of feels right for this
Yeah.
one, but I I just feel like they were having fun and they came up with a bunch of ideas. And like, oh, let's do this bit. Let's have a Native American Sith Lord
Yeah.
show up
Yes.
who,
Yeah.
with Jedi powers who gets killed immediately. Yeah, it's going to take 8 minutes of the film, but I mean, to be fair, it's funny. That's one of
Yeah.
the things. Like, yeah, that's memorable. What it's doing in this film, I don't know. Let's have
No.
a megalomaniacal real estate guy called Reagan who
Reagan.
is it's like cackling in his dark office because he's had the lights broken. It's like, sure, I mean, these are all things we can remove, but there's like funny moments to it. But there is a long time where it's like the second half, just like Jaws, is the three guys in the house instead of the boat, and they barricade themselves in. There's no way out, but people still arrive in the house after that happens. But whatever. Uh, like this isn't a film to apply logic to. That's not.
No,
No.
no, it is definitely not.
My biggest criticism is that the poster for House Shark has a regular sized house being eaten by a giant shark, which does not happen at any point in the film. This is crushing to me. I was so looking forward to there being a shark that can eat houses, and like this is false advertising. I'm gonna sue. I don't.
Oh God.
It's
You
just,
gonna sue Ron Bonk?
I'm gonna sue Ron Bonk for everything he's got. All
$37 that he made from this movie.
I mean, he's made 65 films.
There,
He's got 7 in production at the moment.
I have to ask you,
producer. Sorry, he's directed 12. Sorry, producer.
did you watch this on DVD or did you have to rent this on like a streaming thing?
This is fortunately this is streaming on Amazon Prime, so I paid not a penny for this.
Okay, so I had the DVD because I'm fancy.
Of course.
And prior to this movie, there was a trailer for a movie that I'm very confident made by these same guys. And Jay, I have to ask you, are you familiar with the movie Thriller: A Cruel Picture?
I am not.
Okay.
Should I?
That's not the movie.
That's
sharks? Not the movie. It does not. But that's not the movie he made. But Thriller: A Cruel Picture is a 70s exploitation film about this woman who gets all these terrible things happen to her. She loses an eye, and then she gets like ninja training with guns, and then she goes on her revenge path. It's a typical 70s exploitation film.
Okay.
So anyway, the trailer before House Shark was their version of that.
So what, they've remade that film?
Yes, down to the eye patch. Like I kid you not. When this girl came, because they were like, her name's like Christy or something, like Christy was kidnapped and sexually assaulted and blah 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 all this stuff, and then they show her training, and then she has an eye patch. That's exactly a dead ringer for the eye patch in Thriller: A Cruel Picture, and I'm like, what? I might be the only one who may have caught that, but I was like, okay, sure. And that might have been my sign. That should have been my sign for what was gonna happen with House Shark.
Is
And I
this
did not
she
catch it.
she was this called She Kills? Or was it this film?
Yes, that is
Okay,
what it was called.
that was the film Ron Bonk made immediately prior to House Shark, the year before, in fact,
Ah,
2016,
there you go.
and
There you
it
go.
stars uh, uh, Jenny Russo, who is Eleanor in this. Who is Eleanor in this? There's a character called
She
Eleanor in House
was.
Shark.
Oh, I can tell you who Eleanor was.
Okay, was she
She
the
was
the
the girl at the beginning of the movie that Frank went on a date with,
Yes, she was.
and
Yes.
that he ended up eating out apparently.
Yes, when he pushes, she's making kissy faces at him, and he just kind of pushes her out the door, and then when he arrives
Yep.
back home, he has hair all over his chin.
Yes. And he is
Because his
grossed
tongue
out.
is legendary. Yes.
Yes.
Sure. Okay. Well, she
So that
appears to
was
be the
Eleanor.
star of She Kills.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Great. So he has his little crew that makes films with them. Great.
Yep.
Sure.
A regular Martin Scorsese, this guy is.
Indeed. Um, So sometimes on these shows, I will recap the entire plot beat by beat. Uh, I feel like I if I tried, I would just have a nosebleed, and it may
That's
never stop.
fair. No, I
'Cause
understand.
this is a strange film
I
where
can.
what you're seeing doesn't really make sense in the next scene sometimes.
Yeah.
So
No, I'll help you out. It's very quick.
well,
This is
I
a
mean,
very quick plot synopsis.
yeah, we'll hit some of the beats. So I mean, we start out with there's a father and son, Frank and Theo. Theo, I think, is Ron Bonk's kid because his name is Nathan Bonk. Bonk, a
Oh,
wonderful,
yeah.
wonderful
Mm-hmm.
surname. I love that as a surname. It's great.
Yep, yep.
So I have a kid called Nate Bonk. He's got a babysitter called Betsy. Frank was on his date with Eleanor, and whilst he's out, Betsy is reading Moby Dick. Puts that down, picks up Moby Dick for Dummies, a book I wish I had because Moby Dick is the worst book I've ever read. Hate that book. Will never miss an opportunity to say how much I hate Moby Dick. It's a terrible, terrible book. I don't understand why anyone likes it. She goes to the toilet. In order to go to the toilet, she of course strips completely naked.
Yep.
As you do. Which my wife questioned, why is she naked? And I just said, because this is House Shark. If you have this film, then she needs to be naked in it at some point. It's expected.
It is, yeah.
Don't worry, she probably won't be around for much longer. And she sits on the toilet. We get a POV shot from inside the toilet at her bare ass. And
yes.
Then she gets eaten into the toilet.
Okay, I gotta ask you a question.
Sure.
When it was doing the shot of the point of view of the shark in the toilet, showing her butt cheeks sitting on the toilet, did you question yourself as to why you met me? Did you say, if I've never met Jason Soto, I would not be watching this right now? I could be doing literally anything else. I could be painting a wall. I would rather be painting a wall.
I do have walls that need painting.
Than have that goddamn Jason Soto make me watch a goddamn movie where we have ass cheeks sitting on a toilet seat and we get a point of view from below. And I'm sure you were questioning every moment you have made in your entire life that led to that exact moment in time.
I have personally willingly chosen to watch the likes of Sarlo and Pink Flamingos. So I have put myself through watching worse. So, but I've questioned why I did that as well.
Okay.
So this isn't the worst thing I've seen. This isn't the worst thing I've chosen to see. But I was amused at the notion of a shark large enough to take out a person being inside of a toilet.
Yeah.
We do later see just a shark's fin sticking out of a toilet seat, not like in the water of the toilet, sticking out of above the seat. Which just no. There is no. Logic, physics, biology, no. But so she gets sucked into. Well, she gets started to be killed. Frank returns home, goes into the bathroom, sees this naked, screaming babysitter on the toilet, reaches out for her, but she gets sucked into the toilet. And then there's blood and guts and viscera strewn everywhere, which remain there for the rest of the film, which does not all take place in the next hour. It takes place, 2 months later. It's all still there.
Yep.
It's not started to rot. That must stink after a couple of months.
Don't think about it, Jay.
Yeah. So then we cut to Frank and Theo are now living in their garden in their yard. They're camping. They don't have anywhere else they could go. They can't afford to rent a Winnebago or something. They choose not to live in the shed that's clearly behind them. They've chosen to camp.
And the tent, it's an experience. It's like you're camping with your dad, but you're doing it for 2 months straight.
And like Theo has a mother, has like Ladybird, who presumably has a house, and occasionally goes and stays with her. But for the rest of the time, it's in his dad's garden. Great, fine.
Yeah.
And Frank doesn't have a job. He's sort of PTSD from being a sheriff, and he wants to burn his house down, but the real estate company don't. So if he does that, he won't get any money. I don't know what's really stopping him from setting fire to this house. There's not a lot, because he doesn't want to sell the house because then there's a shark in the house, Jason. I don't even know there's a shark.
There's a shark. There's a shark eating people in the house. You can't just sell it.
So he chooses not to do that. Instead, he wants to bring in this house shark expert he finds by looking in the library.
Yes.
Meanwhile, the real estate company bring in their expert, which is Darth Squanto.
Yep.
Darth
Squanto.
Who, arrives. They have a turning up montage. Killed immediately. Great. He's killed just after, because another couple are shown around the house by George, the estate agent. And whilst they're looking at the house, their dog runs off and should gets eaten. And whilst the couple are left alone in the living room, they start to get a little frisky, where the gentleman sticks a finger up the lady's rear, and the shark attacks them. And this is relevant because later on, when we get a jump scare of his body being thrown against the window and his hand still having her posterior attached to his finger.
Yes, that was a wonderful scene.
Yes, another thing that definitely had to be in the film.
Oh yeah,
we couldn't have done this film without having an anus on a finger. I mean, yeah, it's cinema. What has my life become that I am describing the plot of House Shark? What did I do wrong?
See, I knew you were gonna have that moment sometime. Existential crisis. Just give into it.
So yeah, Reagan sends Darth Squanto. That doesn't work. Yeah, but instead, Zachary and Michael Merchant shows up, who is the German lederhosen wearing house shark expert, has an atrocious accent.
Now, Jay,
was fake.
You have to understand, as a screenwriter, as a writer myself, I often struggle with how do I get across that this character is German? So I need to be very subtle with it, and I need to give the audience hints because they might not pick up on the very important fact that this guy's German. So they have to give him lederhosen, which is clearly what all Germans wear in Germany, like 24/7. Yes. And then they have to speak in a very forced sounding accent because all Germans sound the same.
Yes, of course they do. And at the end of every other sentence needs to be like how you say.
Good. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you have to get that point across. Otherwise, we're going to be lost in the plot of House Shark and not understand where this guy's come from or what his motivation is. Why is he wearing, why is he wearing the lederhosen? Oh, he's German. That makes sense.
He definitely has to be German. That is,
he has to be German.
He has to be. I mean, the film wouldn't exist if this character wasn't German for a while he's not.
Until he decides not to be German.
I mean, spoiler for later in the film, it turns out he's not really German. He's
he's faking.
Evil American scientist. And yet, when he is talking in his sleep, he is still talking with a German accent and saying things like, yes, mein Führer. That kind of thing.
Hey, he's dedicated to the bit.
He's method. He has become this
I'm going to tell you a
German
true story.
house shark expert.
Sorry to derail the podcast, but we're talking about house
please.
sharks, so I'm sure you welcome the derailment. Sacha Baron Cohen, who may or may not people may know that he played like Borat in the movie Borat that came out like 15 years ago at this point. Damn, I'm old.
Oh God.
And anyway, so his whole thing was Sacha Baron Cohen, he's a British guy, but he was playing this like, Middle Eastern character with like a very heavy, thick accent. So there was a story that he told once where he was filming the movie, and because the movie is kind of like a prank movie where he's going around as his character messing with actual people, there was a situation where somebody invited him to like a house for like a party or for some reason, and he went just to go along with the gag, and he ended up getting really drunk at this party, has Borat. And then he passed out, has Borat. And then later, like somebody at the party, again, expecting this is a Middle Eastern guy, waking him up, there was a fear that Sacha Baron Cohen was going to wake up and speak as Sacha Baron Cohen, but he went right into the Borat voice. Like he just like instantly knew in this drunken hungover haze, oh, I got to be Borat. I passed out in this house as Borat, and I am waking up as Borat, even though I am Sacha Baron Cohen, Brit. I am from Kazakhstan, and I passed out in this guy's house. And he did it flawlessly. Like everyone was like, "Hey, Borat, wake up!" And he woke up, and he was the voice. So that's the same kind of craft that this guy did. The obvious German with the lederhosen. That was the exact same craft that he applied here.
What I'm learning is that Sacha Baron Cohen may be the character, and he's really Borat. He's been Borat.
That would be a twist. That would be a twist.
Ina Fisher's been married to her brother. I don't know. Sure. My wife, etc. Good. That's fascinating. I did not know that. Wow. So yeah. So this character who turned out to be American, but anyway, he's Zachary. He's a house shark expert. He arrives as does Abraham Wes Reed, who is someone that the Reagan real estate have used before. He's another kind of shark expert. He's the Quint of this film, who comes to them in a bar, tries to do the nails on the fingerboard thing, but can't do it.
Yeah,
it was a nice touch.
Yeah, yes. His whole deal, and I can't believe I picked up on this, was that he was a realtor. Because he had the name tag of some like realtor conference that happened in Syracuse. Because this movie takes place in Syracuse, New York. Yes. By the way, I want to stress that to anyone listening, because you may care about where the setting of House Shark happens. It's Syracuse, New York, and he has this name tag that's been stuck to him the entire movie of some like convention of realtors or something. And I'm too going to jump ahead, because since this movie wanted to parody Jaws so much, they did everything beat by beat mostly.
They even had Jaws.
Yeah, they did, yes. And Steven Spielberg got a thank you at the end of the credits, by the way. I'm sure, Jay, you immediately hit stop once the credits were running.
There's a scene after the credits that I watched.
Okay, I was going to ask if you did. Okay.
And there's a bit into the credits that says, any resemblance to persons living, dead, and especially other movies is purely coincidental.
Yes.
I liked that.
Yeah, that was funny. But we got to get the scene from Jaws where Quint tells the story of the USS Indianapolis, but we got to have the house shark version of it. And so we got our Quint, the Abraham guy, telling his version of a realtor conference gone wrong. Now, did I understand what he was saying? Because he was in a very fake accent with a very obvious beard that was, affecting his way of talking. Yes.
And
so I don't know what he was saying.
Guy as well. So
and he's playing a drunk. Yes. So no, I don't know what he was saying during this, but it was like a 5-minute speech that was that was dead on, like the USS Indianapolis speech from Jaws. So there you go.
There's a lot of Jaws homages. There's that. There's the scene where the three guys will just start singing together.
Yeah.
There's a bit early on when the kid starts copying everything the dad does, including picking his nose. It's at one point one of the characters when they say, "Oh, we should call this like Mouse Jaws," and one of the other ones says, "Ixnay on the jaws, eh?" on the oars,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
so yeah, they know what they're doing.
Oh, 100%.
So Abraham shows up and he wants to in, and they refuse to pay him, so he ends up paying them to help kill the shark, which great, fine. So then that's the team is assembled. They then barricade the house up. Ladybird, who is Frank's ex-wife, shows up and says that when he gets out, she'll be waiting for him, etc. And so they barricade the house up there. It's some of the worst hammering I've seen in a film. It's like it's been a thing in the UK recently. Our Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, who I keep on forgetting who our Prime Minister is in this country because we've had so many.
Yeah.
Like I don't remember the last time we voted for anybody, but it wasn't him and it wasn't the person before him. So it's been a while. But he was recently filmed hammering something, and he had the hammer. He wasn't hammering with the flat end of the hammer, nor was he hammering with the pointy other end. He was hammering with the side of the hammer. So I was just reminded with like, oh, this is Rishi Sunak style hammering here going on of them boarding up his house. Yes. My country has terrible politicians too, if you will.
Yeah, no, yeah. I've been minorly keeping up with that, but I would not have known who your prime minister was either, so for what it's worth.
It's a genuine when I was thinking today in my notes, like Rishi Sunak, prime minister. Yes, he is the prime minister. Yes, okay, good. It's like it doesn't make any difference to anyone who is and who isn't. Anyway, that's not. This isn't a political podcast. We just got derailed a little bit. So
this is what happens when you get an American on. You just have to talk about politics. It happens so often.
So they board themselves up. They go into the house. Abe swallows the key because they couldn't possibly break down the 3 boards at one window kind of thing. There's no possible way.
Or go through the back door. Apparently, there's no back door to this place.
I mean, just go upstairs and jump on a window up there, or there's a bunch of different options. They don't think of any of them because it's a house shock. So they're in there and they camp out in the bathroom in Betsy's entrails for the night. And in the morning, Frank is urinating on Betsy's entrails in the toilet. He sees a silhouette of the house shark in the doorway, and he turns and urinates on Zachary. In his sleep, this is when he's doing the talking in his sleep about my Fuhrer, wakes up and goes, "You gave me the golden shower," etc. But they see the shark, and the shark attacks them, but no one gets killed. And Zachary tries to inject it with this plutonium he has, this bright green syringe.
Yeah.
But no success. When the shark sees that, it runs away. And whenever we say shark, this is, as Jason described earlier, it's a guy in a lump of foam. And there's like a working jaw, but the eyes are both on the same side of the head, like it's a Picasso painting. It's like a man. It's the worst shark you've ever seen. Basically, it's terrible.
Yeah, it's.
But the plan they come up with is that one of them needs to dress up in a lady house shark costume.
Yes.
Which, of course, has a pink apron on it. Because why wouldn't it? Well, yeah, I'm surprised it doesn't have like a bow on its head and lipstick.
Comments about telling the character if he's German or not wearing lederhosen applies to whether or not we know that this is a female shark.
Yes, and Zachary says like that ain't no house shark, and everyone replies like say like with it's a tiger shark or what? So it's just another Jaws reference, and he is being an expert in these kind of things. He recognizes this isn't a house shark. This is the result of a genetic mutation where he tried to make sharks extra smart so that they would give him Spider-Man like powers so he could hit on girls. I think is his arc or his backstory.
Okay. Okay.
He says at one point that when they discover that he's actually American, and that's when that is revealed.
Yep.
That the shark, whose name is Woodrow,
Woodrow,
it was exposed to radiation became super smart and escaped. And it can camouflage and regenerate. Just like the Indominus Rex from Jurassic World. A more expensive film.
Much more.
So,
By Steven Spielberg.
By Steven Spielberg. That's Colin Trevorrow. But Spielberg did it. Yeah,
well, he produced it, right?
Enough.
Did he produce it? He did produce the World movies, right?
Yes, I think he did.
Well, there's still a connection.
Yeah,
okay,
sure,
cool.
absolutely. I didn't mean to say you were wrong. It's fine.
No, you're good.
There's a random squatter that just gets fed to a shark. Which, great, fine, why not?
I love the random people that just show up in the house. That cracked me up. I'm not gonna lie. I laughed my ass off when they just pulled this random guy out of nowhere, and he was like, "I didn't know anyone was here," and they're like eaten up by the shark. Like at first, I thought they were gonna do like a meta joke, like, "Oh, this is the sound guy, or this is the director, or this is like the clapper." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But no, they were like, "No, this is a squatter," which made it funnier to me. I don't know why.
And when like the shark also now has a sci-fi ray gun.
Yes.
Because why wouldn't it? And when it's about to shoot them, that's when Reagan, the real estate guy, shows up and starts beating it with a baseball bat, and then he gets eaten.
Yeah.
He like pulls a grenade and jumps into the shark's mouth, and then the shark just kind of puffs out some smoke.
Yep.
This is the kind of thing where like they just had an idea of, hey, we could do this in the film, let's do that. And they do it, and no one at any point said maybe we shouldn't do that.
Now,
and so it's all in there.
Jay, you were skipping over the best part of the movie.
What did I miss?
So allow me to tell you about how Zachary Taylor, now he's evil, and he does not want the shark to be harmed. So he busts the water heater into the house, plugs up the drain in the basement. So the entire house is now flooded from floor to roof, and now these guys have to film themselves pretending to be swimming underwater, and then they have an underwater fight with like lead pipes. And so when they have to simulate the fact that the one guy knocked the pipe out of the other guy's hand and the pipe has to go down slowly, you can clearly see the string that's being used to lower the pipe onto the ground. And then they have to like still keep the pretense of holding their breath, but the Abraham guy still takes a swig from his flask. And then they're just like, this is like a 10-minute scene. Like I didn't count it, but I'm approximating this to be a 10-minute scene. And it was, I'm telling you, hands down my favorite sequence of this film. I would literally pop the DVD in just to watch this scene by itself, because it is probably the best part of this entire movie. I'm not even kidding.
I agree. I was getting to this bit because just prior to this, to get into the basement, Zachary is whisked away by the shark and pulled into a drain. Which he survives. This isn't a big drain. This is like a sink plug hole, and there's like a cone head splash kind of bit of blood that comes up, and then he's just alive in the basement. Great. So there's there when he floods everything, and he floods the entire basement, and the water's like coming up to ceiling level on the ground floor. Which, no, but it happens. It's fine. It's all science. They're just clearly walking. Everyone's just clearly walking. but if you ignore that, if you ignore the string, this actually haven't been done on a budget. This actually looks okay. This looks like for obviously what they're doing, but for that budget, I was like, yeah, okay, I'll buy this. I'll go along with it. Movie.
Yeah.
If you have to shoot an underwater scene, in a basement with a fight, and this is how you got to just puff up your cheeks and put a blue filter on it and a little bit of wavy CGI afterwards. So I really enjoyed this too. And they bust the drain, and the water will just immediately just flows out.
It's just gone. Yep.
It's just gone.
In like 2 seconds. In 2 seconds, it's all gone.
Yeah.
I also appreciate the since they're ripping off Jaws, the scene at the shark cage, and like their way of it is just doing like a baby gate against the door, and they have the shark like butting up against it. You have to give them credit for coming up with very creative, clever ways to rip off one of the best like summer blockbuster shark films ever made. Like you have to give them credit.
I do. I just don't understand why they did it. Like, like the fact that this was their aim and they accomplished it, and this is how they did it. Well done, everyone. I still go back to the question of why.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, that's a fair question.
I mean, we've. Have you seen the? Oh yeah, actually, let's towards now. This is your first time on the show. Deep Blue Sea. Thoughts?
So I saw Deep Blue Sea. Hi everybody, I'm 43 years old. I saw it when it came out on VHS after it was the theatrical run back in like 2000.
99.
Well, the theater, it came out in theater in 99.
Yeah.
The VHS.
I see. You saw VHS 2000. Okay. Sure.
On 2000. Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. Sorry.
Okay. Right. No.
I might not have been super clear. I apologize. Yeah, I didn't see it in the theater. I didn't get a chance to, but I did rent it from my video store and I did watch it, and obviously I enjoyed it. But I have not revisited since.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong. It was not like a negative thing to like, oh, I hated that movie. It was just one of those ones that like I've seen it once. I get it. I understand the appeal. I understand why this British guy that I know in England is going to make a podcast about it. Sure. Why not? But I have not gone back to revisit it, and I should. I absolutely want to. It is a 90s movie, and I do got a podcast where I cover 90s movies. So, there's a possibility it may show up there. But I did like it. I did think it was, you're going to take issue with these words here, but I'm going to say them anyway. It was good, campy fun. It was definitely a popcorn flick. It did what it did. LL Cool J was amazing. The Samuel Jackson kill was wonderful. Everything about it, top notch. I did like the movie. I just have not gone back to revisit it.
I have no issue with you saying it's campy popcorn fun.
Okay.
However you choose to enjoy Deep Blue Sea, all you have to do is enjoy it. So
okay, all right.
But have you ventured to the sequels?
No, I have not. I did not see the sequels.
Given that you have recommended House Shark, I would suggest you would find things to enjoy in Deep Blue Sea 2.
You're just gonna keep throwing me under that bus, aren't you?
No. We love Deep Blue Sea 2. We spent 10 weeks covering Deep Blue Sea 2, and 11 covering Deep Blue Sea 3. 2 has a much smaller budget, and it's kind of a remake of the first one, with less money and more baby sharks.
Oh, okay.
Whereas 3 is a legitimately great film that just tells a different story. 2, you used to have The Lair of the Unwanted. Was your old podcast?
Yes,
Deep Blue Sea 2 would have fit very well in.
Okay.
And I would strongly recommend you track that down at some point.
I will think about it.
Good. So excellent. So this film, back to House Shark. How did it end? I can't remember how. So
I can tell you.
Abraham, Abraham realizes that the enemy of the house shark is the praying mantis. So that, and then there's a little model praying mantis, which maybe that's where he got his ideas from. I don't know. Oh, when the house gets drained, he and Frank at the bottom goes, "There's a problem. I'm sober."
Yeah.
So he trains in the martial arts of the praying mantis with Frank, who is in much better physical shape, training him with the aim to send Abraham in to fight the shark with the skills of the praying mantis. This all makes perfect sense. This is part of stuff that could be cut because it adds nothing.
Oh, 100%. I would cut this montage of the praying mantis. This was the moment where I was like, okay, now it's starting to overstay its welcome. I was into this movie. If it ended, like if the movie after the house drained, and then it went to Abraham. I know you're getting to it, but the part where Abraham gets eaten by the shark. If it just jumped to that part, I would have been happy. But then we get this. It was like 5 minutes of this montage, and then this is when I was like, okay, movie. Now you're starting to get on my nerves a bit.
Yeah, so they do this, and then Abraham goes to fight the shark, but then he needs to defecate because he needs to get the key out so he
Oh
can actually
yeah,
escape. And
I
so
somehow forgot about that.
there's so many little bits where like, oh yeah, this because it doesn't really like he's squatting over a bucket.
Hmm.
They It's been a thing throughout the whole film where he's a face toucher. It makes him
Oh
feel better
yeah.
if he's touching people's
Hmm.
faces. So he's
Hmm.
defecating whilst touching Frank's face, which is just the most uncomfortable thing I can think of. Uh,
Yeah.
and we forgot to mention when after they drain it, the shark is coming around, it's walking around the house looking for them, and so they pretend to be furniture
Oh yeah, that's
for a
right.
scene. It's like Frank's just holding books up and pretending to be a bookshelf. Abraham's like put a cushion in
Yeah.
his lap pretending to be a chair, and the shark can't
Yeah.
find them, and so just collapses on its back, belly up, and goes to
Yeah.
sleep
Hmm.
like a dog, basically. And Abraham wakes it up and he has to touch his face. He can't not touch his face. He has to touch his face. And so yeah, so Abraham eventually is like, I'm more whiskey than man because he's drunk again. So and so
Yep.
he sacrificed himself to get into the shark and gets Frank to shoot him, exploding in a mammoth explosion, a shark explosion, I guess, that blows up the whole house. So he blew up the house. He set fire to the house. He did what he set out to do.
Yes, he
At the
did.
start. But of
And
course,
the
Abraham
neighborhood while we're
survives.
at it. He blew up
Yeah,
the
see,
entire
yeah,
neighborhood.
right.
And the neighborhood turned into the Grand Canyon for some reason.
Yeah, it's a desolate wasteland now where no shark could possibly survive. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
but somehow Abraham, who is now a disembodied head, manages to survive because it said earlier that he had his like legs and arms and head uh,
Yeah.
bitten
Yeah.
off by a shark and then put back together again. That happens again. He is killed.
Hmm.
And that's the end. But he's like revived and put back into a bucket and it's fine, I guess. And that's kind of House Shark until after the
That's
credits when we see Zachary like pulls against a shed and like there's a alien homage where there's a shark baby bursting through his chest. And earlier in the
he
film, in
got.
fact, he had an Obi-Wan Kenobi style use the force like force ghost kind of thing, use the force as the plutonium
Oh yeah, that's
thing
right.
as
Yeah, I
well.
forgot about that too. Yeah.
It's because it means nothing.
Yeah. No, yeah, it doesn't. It really doesn't. I did, but yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's House Shark. Uh, a film.
It's a movie.
So, are you happy with? Is there a different shark film that you had seen before that you would have rather chosen?
Um. See, the problem was that I know you've covered a lot of the mainstream bad ones, I guess I'll say. I don't know how else to word that. Like, I'm sure I haven't looked at every show you've done, but I'm sure you've done like Sharknado already.
We actually
I'm sure
haven't done
you've.
shark. I've never seen a Sharknado. Uh,
That is surprising. I thought that would have
it's
been like the top 10 of like after Deep Blue Sea. This is gonna be the next movie. I am surprised. See, I would have done Sharknado.
they feel too obvious, and I don't want to cover them. Is the thing.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, then
I,
that's fine.
I
Okay, that's
this
fine.
I feel like House Shark would be in the same category as Sharknado, where they're kind of intentionally making a terrible film,
That's
and
fine.
I
Okay.
don't like
Okay.
that.
That's
Maybe
okay.
maybe we will one day.
I can
I don't know.
respect that. No, I can respect that. But and then like, three-headed shark attack, spring break shark attack, shark in Venice, I think it's called.
We've done Shark in
Um
Venice. Shark in Venice,
yeah.
our longest episode to date. That was on
Oh,
Shark in Venice.
wow.
A beautiful film that we love so much on this show.
Um yeah, so you know what? I am kind of glad that for my first time and hopefully not last
No,
that I get to
definitely.
be on this show. I get to talk about House Shark. And it's a movie that's been in my DVD collection for years. I bought that thing like, I don't know, easily 5, 6 years ago by now. And I just never got around to it. So I'm actually glad that I got that watched. And now I get to decide if I want to keep it or not. And I think I'm gonna keep it.
Okay.
Because it's gonna be like a memorial to this wonderfully wacky movie about three guys who are just in a house that one of them owns, maybe even the director owns it, and they decided to make Jaws on a $30 budget. And
I would love to know the exact budget. I would love to. Are there
I
any
could,
bonus features on the DVD?
you know what? I'm not gonna kid you. There is. The movie ended and immediately took me to, like, there was a director's commentary. There was a blooper reel. I want to say there was, like, the trailer was on there, and there was, like, one other thing I don't remember right now. But I didn't have time to, like, go through any of those. But I may check out the DVD or the director comment. If I ever do, Jay, I will let you know, and then I will let you know if he ever says the budget.
Thank
But
you.
considering the kind of humor he might have, I can see him saying, "Oh, this was like $80 million to film this movie. Like, the house was $40,000 all on its own, and that shark costume was $50,000." You know what I mean? I can see him saying that as a joke, and we don't get the actual budget. But I will let you know if he does.
I appreciate it. Thank you. I look forward
You're
to finding
welcome.
out. So yeah, we've never covered any of the 2, 3, etc. headed shark attack films. So we'll have you back for one of those perhaps if you want to talk. There's 2, 3, 5, and 6. I think
Yeah,
are all different
they
headed sharks. They skipped
they
4.
keep growing heads. I don't know why.
So one day we'll cover one of those and we'll have you back for that, or some other presumably terrible shark film that you want to talk about.
Yeah, if I'm the guy that
Gladly.
can make it through bad movies, there's no way I'm the only guy that can suffer through a bad movie.
No,
There's
no.
no way.
We have like the aforementioned Kevin Culp is one of the people we go to for terrible shark
Ah,
films.
okay. Yeah, there
He
you
was
go.
on for
Okay.
Empire of the Sharks. Emily Slade was on for Shark in Venice, and Ghost Shark. Lisa was on for Santa Jaws. Yeah, we have a bunch of people who like these terrible films. Jeanette was on for Sharktopus.
Okay. All
We
right.
have a
All right.
roster. Lisa's desperate to come back on for Piranha 3 Double D,
Oh,
which
nice.
may be the worst film I've ever seen. I don't know. Terrible, terrible film.
Hmm.
I hate it.
Well, I think that's gonna be replaced with House Shark now.
I
Um,
mean, maybe.
Say what you
Well,
want about Piranha 3 Double D, whatever it's called. It
it's
has
short.
definitely a bigger budget than House Shark, and was at least kind of competently made.
Uh, sure. And I
Give
mean,
it that.
it's half an hour shorter than House Shark as well. Um,
And that too. Yes, absolutely. Doesn't
I
overstay
think
its welcome.
they have to, if I remember right, they have to break up the credits with the blooper reel to make it feature length. Otherwise, it would have to be legally a short. So
Is that why movies do that sometimes?
yeah,
Okay,
I think 77 minutes is the minimum a feature film has to be. And so if you release
Mm.
something that's 70 minutes long, it's not technically a film; it's a short.
Oh, okay. I don't think I ever knew that. Honest, I'm gonna be honest.
I think it's 77. I could be wrong, but that's definitely a rule. The number
Okay,
might be wrong.
okay,
Uh,
okay.
well, before we get out of here, there are 2 features I need to do at the end of the show. Firstly, how is House Shark similar to Deep Blue Sea? So I have a list. I keep a list going whilst I'm watching the film of things in this film that are similar to Deep Blue Sea. So we have shots from a shark's point of view. There are some scenes that are entirely blue. The shark's POV are entirely blue, and that reminds me of Deep Sea 2, when there are bits where there's a whole sequence where they use one corridor multiple times, but just light it in different colors. And so there's like a whole blue, whole red. So there's blue bits of Deep Sea 2. We see a character peeing. We see a woman getting undressed. There are homages to Jaws, just like in Deep Blue Sea. There is a shark inside. Sharks shouldn't be inside, but they're inside in Deep Blue Sea. A shark bites somebody's arm off. There is a shark expert. Someone is seen cooking. Frank has a traumatic backstory, and so does Abe. There's a character called Franklin. Sam Jackson's character is Russell Franklin. We never get characters called Franklin. There is a super smart shark experimentation is discussed. They shoot a shark with a harpoon or a crossbow. Building starts flooding. There's an underwater dead body jump scare. They explode the shark at the end, and there is a shark using a stairwell, which we've never had in any other film. It's the first time we've had a shark using stairs since Deep Blue Sea. So that's the first. And the other feature I have is how deep and how blue is House Shark. So Jason, when I went through Deep Blue Sea, I analysed roughly how deep the action was taking place within the film, and came up with an average depth of Deep Blue Sea as being about 14.5 meters, which is 47.5 feet. And then I worked out how blue the screen was at any given point. I worked out on average that Deep Blue Sea is about 31% blue.
Oh,
Do you think
okay.
House Shark is on average deeper and or bluer than Deep Blue Sea?
Wow. Definitely not bluer. I think there was only just a hand, like small. I could think of two blue scenes in the movie that I can recall right now. Um, Deeper. Um, I think the lowest they go is the basement, and I'm sure Deep Blue Sea's gone deeper than a house basement. So no, I'm gonna say no to both.
You are correct. Yeah, so this is almost entirely on land level. They occasionally go upstairs to the son's bedroom, down into the basement, and then when the whole place floods, I count that as depth because they're below the water. But this works out on average about 1.8 meters up in the air, which is about 6 feet
Mm.
up, which means this is slightly higher than The Lighthouse and slightly lower than Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides. So it is our 64th least deep film, a long way away from Deep Sea. And blueness, yeah, it is significantly less blue than Deep Sea. It is the only blue scenes are when we see the sharks POV shots, and then the underwater bits in the basement are all tinted blue.
Oh
There's
yeah.
like
Okay.
Frank's wearing a blue shirt for bits, but Theo's got a blue shirt on. There's bits of sky here and there, but this works out on average about 6.7% blue. So it's bluer than Deep Water, that Ben Affleck Ana de Armas film for the other year, and less blue than Driven, Rennie Harlin's Driven. So this is our 68th bluest film out of the 85 we've covered so far. So low down on the
Wow.
list for there. But that's
Wow.
I wasn't really expecting it to be very deep and blue. But maybe you'll find a deeper, bluer film to come back with next
Maybe I will.
time.
Maybe I
Uh,
will.
but for this time, Jason, thank you for joining me. What would you like to plug? You have like 1,000 podcasts.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I'll make it very simple. Just go to rabbitholepodcast.com. It is a podcasting network that has like at least 15 shows that and I don't host all of them. I host the majority, but I don't host all of them. We have a great team of people, doing all kinds of different shows that range from music to movies to TV shows. We have a book club. There's a comedy show. There's all kinds of great stuff that you can check out. A little bit of something for everyone. If you're, a time travel nerd, if you're a Mystery Science Theater 3000 fan, if you're a Twin Peaks fan, X-Files fan, Buffy the Vampire Slayer fan, um, you love 90s movies, you like discovering new music, you want to analyze lyrics to music, um, you like books, reading books, hearing about books, or you just want to hear dick jokes for an hour and a half. There is literally something for everybody. RabbitHolePodcast.com. That is going to be the best place to go check out all of these shows.
I'll highlight a few because some of our previous guests are hosts of those. So Between the Scares is you and Lisa Leahy.
Mm-hmm.
Sean Homrig's got the Cabot Cove Confab,
Mm-hmm.
his Murder She Wrote podcast. Bubba Weeks does, of course, Fight Club Minutes, and he also does Lyrical Innuendo with our most frequent guest, Nick Rehak, who also does play MST for me. Which, when you were looking for someone who hadn't seen any of MST 3K, I could well have put my head up and said, me, but I had no time to start doing another podcast and watch all these films. I've never seen a second of MST 3K.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, so Nick gladly took that bullet, I think.
Yeah. He's doing a good job. He's doing a good
Whenever
job.
I hear him talk about it, he loves it. So
Yes.
he has
Yes.
been on this show 15 times.
Oh,
Keeps
damn.
coming back. He has the
Okay.
role of, if we have a film we want someone to cover, he was like, yeah, I'll watch it, whatever. So we
That's
recently
cool.
covered all 5 Pirates films, and he only progressed it after, I think, the second one. Yeah. Great. So that's Rabbit Hole Podcast. You can find a bunch of shows, all excellent, and all there for you to listen to. As
Yes.
for me, you can find this podcast on all social media at Deep Blue Sea Pod, and everything Mark does over at moviesfilmsandflicks.com. Find out him there, and he'll be back next week. But as for House Shark, thank you once again to my guest, Jason Soto.
Hey, thank you for having me. This was a lot of fun. And actually, I've not talked about a bad movie in a while. So thank you for letting me revisit that.
Happy to help. I have been Jake Lewis, and I'll deep blue see you next week.